All right, what is going on? Ukraine forces enter Kherson as Russia retreats against the Dnieper River. It says that UKR forces swept into the southern city of Kherson on Friday after Russia said its military had completed a rapid retreat from the area. A humiliating setback for President Vlad and a major development in the conflict. It says as jubilant civilians flocked to the city's central square to greet advancing soldiers, it said that Kiev said its forces were taking control and warned any remaining occupying troops to surrender. It says that UKR President Vladimir Zelensky said it was a historic day in a video posted on his Telegram channel and said that special military units had entered the city. The people of Kherson have been waiting. They have never gave up on UKR, he said, adding that the citizens were already removing Vlad's symbols from the streets and buildings and any traces of the occupiers stay in Kherson. This is, of course, obviously pretty big, right? Well, there's obviously a lot kind of still hanging here. It's being talked about like this is the end of the conflict. Is it the end or is it actually the beginning? We'll talk about that and much, much more on tonight's show. We're actually going to go over a ton of world events, so stick around. And tonight is a call-in show. It is a live call-in show. So remember, get in after we introduce Dex at 2244-00-MARF. Should be a good one. We'll be right back. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
As it gets,
All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Tonight, we actually had a few issues even getting on here, so I'm glad to be here. I hope that you are happy to be here as well. Tonight is going to be a good show, and if you've never been here before, remember you can always go over to marfooglenews.com to find a full bibliography of all of our sources. On top of that, you can sign up for our email list, which I highly recommend. If anything were to happen to us, that's how we would get a hold of you. Now, over here, you can find that it is easily navigatable by thumbnail. All you have to do is look for tonight's thumbnail. Going out in style, is it the end or just the beginning? Once you click on that in our website, you will see it brings you to a full bibliography of all of our sources. That means every single article, tweet, video, picture, document is there for you to read. You can actually grab a second device and read along. If we don't cover the whole article, you can go and continue it, or you can go back retrospectively and check my work. So make sure to go check that out. Also, at the very bottom, we'll talk about that at the very end. There's a ton of overflow, all the stuff that could not fit into a 2-hour show. That is down there, so make sure to go check that out. And then also just a quick reminder, marfooglenews.com/friends. If anything is going on with us and we can't get on live, make sure to go check out our friends, marfooglenews.com/friends. Speaking of friends, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So we have a lot going on. Tonight is a call-in show, so if you want to get in, you would call in now. The phone lines just opened up at 2244-00-MARF. Again, that's 2244-00-6273. We're going to be covering a couple of articles, and then we'll be going to our first caller. which could be you. So make sure to get in quick. UN to seek out methane emitters with data from space. It says that big emitters of the heat-trapping gas methane can expect a call from the United Nations starting next year, when the global body launches a new platform to combine existing systems for tracking the potent greenhouse gas from space. It says the UN Environment Program said Friday that the new Methane Alert and Response System, or MARS for short, is intended to help companies act on major emission sources, but also provide data in a transparent and independent way. It says it draws on satellite measurements performed by NASA and the European, German, and Italian space agencies. Data from private satellite operators will also be incorporated in future, and it says each of these instruments gives us a correct answer to the question that is slightly different, because each of them see different things, said Manfredi Caltagirone, head of the International Methane Emissions Observatory at UNEP. It says, quote, "So the only way you can have a correct picture is to connect them all together." Well, it seems as of current and as of the last few years, has it been absolutely, incorrect? Is that why we're having so much problems, getting on the same page on this? I don't know. But what do you think that this could be used for as well? I think it's funny that they actually named it Mars. Just a little bit odd considering my thoughts. But again, it's the Methane Alert and Response System. Is something bigger that is possibly there right under our noses, quite literally? Or is it just yet another system to push, obviously what's going on right now? Don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think about it? And then down here, it also says the data will be released 45 to 75 days after it is gathered. So plenty of time. That's 45 to 75 days later, meaning companies will have sufficient time to fix the leaks by the time they become public. Isn't that funny? It says, we think it is important not to just create a shaming tool, but to engage the operators and governments so they can act on the specific event. So we'll see what happens with that. And then passenger flight is shot as it comes into land in Beirut. Obviously, when we've talked about this place before, the last time we talked about it was when it had that giant boom boom event that sent viral videos around the planet, like the shockwave in most of the videos. That event was still strange. In fact, you know when something is strange when people can't talk about it. And that was one of the events where obviously a lot of people questioned that event. And anybody that did, a lot of people got knocked down for it. Very, very strange. Obviously, there was a lot of different theories there. We had military jets and things there right before that happened. Well, now it says that a passenger flight is shot as it comes into land in Beirut. Shocking images reveal hole in the fuselage just feet away from seats blamed on celebratory gunfire. It says a stray bullet hit the Middle East Airlines passenger plane as it landed on Thursday, thankfully missing passengers. No injuries were reported as a celebratory bullet fired into the side of the passenger plane as it landed. So it said that it's celebratory bang-bang fire is a commonplace in Lebanon and a country where ownership of bang-bangs is common. Celebratory shots are fired to mark special events like weddings and funeral, or the release of school, or university exam results. The celebratory gunfire is also common after speeches. So, yeah. And all these people complain about the USA. You don't see T-Man make a point and then just the whole crowd go bow 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 like back in the Wild West. So apparently the bullet went right through the plane. Pretty crazy. If I was on that plane, that would be pretty freaky, especially when you start losing cabin pressure. I wonder if the oxygen stuff dropped down. It doesn't look like it. Either way, pretty scary. Is there anything to it? Probably not. And then U.S. bomber flight meant as a message to Iran amid threat to Saudi infrastructure. It says officials believe Iran is planning an attack on the kingdom, likely on energy infrastructure. So we've talked about this over the last few weeks. There's obviously been high-profile threats against not only the U.S., but Saudi Arabia. And we just talked about how there were major events they said could take place. Some of the experts were saying they're hearing chatter of these big events. And of course, there was talk about the iCountry getting hypersonics and somehow being able to get that technology. We talked about that the other night when we talked about how Vlad obviously gave NK a super EMP. Vlad has given technology of theirs to other countries, so it's probably no surprise that they are now going to have hypersonics since Xi and Vlad both have them. It says the flight of the two U.S. B-52 bombers over the Middle East announced on Thursday was a show of force message to Iran as American and Saudi officials continued to monitor an imminent, notice how they say this, monitored an imminent threat to Saudi Arabia, according to a senior Defense Department official. It said officials believe Tehran is planning an attack on the kingdom, likely on energy infrastructure. So in the world of things, and it could be a cyber attack, it could be something, but they are going for the grid. This is something that everybody should pay attention to because obviously we are their enemy as well. They could get something mixed up in the messaging or in the chatter. Who knows? This could be on us. Remember, T-Man took out Soleimani because he said that they had something planned for the United States that made September of 2001 look like chicken scratch. So it says that American and Saudi officials are also monitoring the increased threat from to Iraq, where the U.S. has thousands of troops and personnel spread across a number of military bases, said a second DoD officials. Both officials spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss a sensitive topic. It says that the linked militia groups frequently target U.S. and partner forces in both area, and most recently in an August skirmish that prompted retaliatory U.S. airstrikes. The officials believe Saudi Arabia is helping anti-government protesters who are fomenting unrest across the country, and that may be the motive for the threat, the first DoD official said. And it said that the protests were sparked by the death of 22-year-old Masa Amini, who had been arrested by the morality police for allegedly flouting the strict dress code for women. Says it should be no surprise to us that there are some part of the apparatus that thinks now is a great time to launch more attacks on the region, said the second DoD official. That is the playbook of this regime. So whether this, and again, this is always anonymous, and these are DoD officials that are speaking in anonymity or whatever. Basically, this could totally be Ganda. This also could be a just a quiet kind of put it in the back of your head type of thing. Warning. We all obviously after big events we look back and say, you know, the media always looks and could we have stopped this? Did they know anything before? And 99% of the time in every big event, including the Bang Bang events in schools and all sorts of things, they have tons of evidence before. They've even covered it in the news. You go back and look at events and then you go, oh, wow, they came out with an article just like this, but nothing was done about it. Or they knew about it, but they didn't take it seriously. So that is one thing. We always point out these things. If they are telling it to the public, that doesn't necessarily mean it's all guaranteed lie. That's the thing. If it's coming out of media, people believe the absolute opposite. And honestly, that's been a pretty good way to look at things. But at the same time, with big events like this, they have actually put out and put out things before it happens, but nobody pays attention to it. Nobody really talks about it. They talk about whatever distractions are going on at the time. And right now, we have plenty. So we're going to be going over to the phone lines here in just a second. I'm going to open up the screen and see what we have so far. Again, the number is 224400-MARF. Thank you, Time B, by the way. And happy Veterans Day to everybody, by the way. We have a ton of military in the fam, and I just want to thank you real quick for your service. Thank you for all of your time that you sacrificed for us, and thank you again for veterans all over the world. Really, I know that there are people watching from every country, and you may have served your country in one way or another, so happy Veterans Day. All right, and then a reminder as well, make sure to sign it. If you are a veteran and you are in need of transportation, make sure to head over to carsforheroes.org. Sign up. It's not guaranteed because there's a lot more veterans in need of transportation than there is people donating their cars. But make sure to sign it up, or if you know a veteran that needs transportation, it doesn't hurt to sign up, and you very well might help them get into transportation. CarsForHeroes.org has actually helped, I want to say, around 30,000 veterans and other heroes into cars. And if you have an old vehicle that's essentially beat up, or if it runs but you don't use it anymore, you can actually donate it and get a tax write-off for it. So make sure to go check that out. Again, it's over on the right side of every page. Again, carsforheroes.org. We're currently working with them. We're going to see if there's going to be possibly something that we can do as well. Obviously, it's Veterans Day today. It would have been awesome if we could have done something today, but we're going to try to do something very soon for our veteran community. All right, and let's see here. Let's go over, and it looks like we have Rod, a first-time caller. And while Dex is getting Rod on the phone, I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/prep. We're independent, so affiliates like this and these ads, this actually helps us run. Again, we're covering controversial subjects, and essentially we pick affiliates or companies that we believe in and that we think will help you survive, have a better life, or be comfortable throughout a disaster. This one is specifically mostly geared towards food. If you don't have long-term survival food, this is a good source for affordable long-term survival food, MREs, freeze-dried, that will last 25 plus years. The great part about this is, again, in bulk, this is a huge, huge deal. There's all sorts of varying prices on this right now. If you go buy a single MRE at Costco or something, they're anywhere from $12 to $15 a piece. Again, getting bulk is the best deal at $250 off for 90 days. But they also have, of course, single meals. They have 3-day kits for your bug out bag. They have all sorts of different packages. So make sure to go check them out. That's all through My Patriot Supply and the Ready Hour buckets. And everything over there, again, is going to get you through hard times, and it will last over 2 decades. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. You will get a discount when you go through our link, and you'll be helping independent news at the same time. Thank you, everybody that has already gone through them. I really do appreciate that. All right, let's get Rod on the phone. Rod is going to be talking about video. Says he's saying hello from Australia. Rod, you're live on Marfoogle News. What's going on?
Adam, Foogle fam, hello from down under.
Hello. Well, nice to see you. Nice to hear from you. So what's going on?
Not a lot going on, mate. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were real, so I thought I'd give a bit of a call in and give a bit of a shout out to your mods and a lot of your Fooglers out there. Man, you've got some nice people in this chat.
Yes, we do. And I'm actually pulling up a video. This is one of your most recent videos, A Changing World to Prep or Not to Prep? Is this it?
That's correct. That's mine. It's just uploaded it this morning. I'm only a new channel. Like I said, I'm 60 years of age. I don't have cameras or anything, so I do everything on my mobile phone, and still learning how to edit. So I'm giving things a go.
Well, good for you, Rod. Again, we've had several people in the Foogle fam that have started, just wherever they are at life. You just got to start doing it. Otherwise, you're not going to know if you can do it unless you do it. This is a really serene setting. Is this in Australia somewhere? This out in the woods in a creek?
This is my property, and that's me you're looking at.
Well, it's a beautiful property. Gosh, I bet a lot of us are jealous. It would be lovely to have a creek like that, where we live, let alone own it. So, Rod, you said you've been watching for years? Is that right?
That's correct. So originally, Adam, I was the Eyes Wide Shut. And I tried to do YouTube videos on that, but I messed it all up. So I changed it over to the Rumble Within because I live with PTSD. I was pretty badly bashed by prisoners where I used to work. And so now I'm known as the Rumble Within. So everybody out there that knows me as Eyes Wide Shut, hi guys. And one more thing. Jammer 1 and Chance Paladin, is it? They helped me heaps with D-Live, eh? I was having trouble with D-Live, and they talked me through how to get things happening. So thanks to those two guys.
Well, they are awesome guys, especially all the stuff they do for everybody over on the D-Live chat. By the way, now that I know that you're Eyes Wide Shut, as you know, I call out everybody's names, every night. So I've known that name for, like 4 years or something. So it's kind of sad. That was that was actually a unique name, and I know exactly who you are now. It's funny because you get to know somebody by their screen name, and if they change it, it's like you don't. If they come back in, I don't know who they are. But now that you say that, it's like I instantly know who you are. That's really cool, though. This is your first time calling in 4 years?
Yeah, I've tried calling a few times, but unfortunately I haven't gotten through. And, I still have Eyes Wide Shut, but I don't use it any longer. I now just use the Rumble Within.
So let me ask you this: what is in Australia? Is there what is the media there, and not just like the big media that everybody in the U.S. watches? Like I think Sky or one of them, Sky Australia, everybody watches. But what is the main thing that's going across the airwaves as far as this conflict? Do people there think that we are close to a WW3, a world war?
It depends on who you talk to, Adam. Here in Australia, we have this really crappy attitude, or this comment that will say that she'll be right, mate, meaning, oh, don't worry about it, nothing will come of it. And there's still a lot of people that have their head buried in the sand. And when I discuss certain topics with certain people, they say to me, oh, haven't you had your medication today? So I'm at the point now where I don't share much information with many people. But there are people here in Australia that are aware of what's going on, but the media over here tells us sweet FA.
So basically, everything's going to be okay. It's kind of the nothing. It's all going to be a nothing burger and forever. And you're crazy if you think anything else. Isn't that funny how that's all across the world? We may speak different languages, or we may have different accents or dialects. We may have different, races, but pretty much everywhere around the planet, the media is the same way. They all just kind of push the same thing, like, oh, you're crazy if you think anything's going to happen. But yeah, after it happens, they go, we don't know how this happened. I can't believe it happened here. How could it happen here to me? It's just kind of lame. Yeah.
Yeah, you're spot on. And what the media is feeding us at the moment is tiny little snippets of things that are going on in UKR and et cetera, you know what I'm talking about there. But they really play it down. So if it wasn't for Marfoogle News, Survival Living, Canadian Prepper, Survival Lily, me personally, I wouldn't have a clue what's going on outside my front door. So I really appreciate watching you guys as often as I can. Like today, it's Saturday here. It's Friday where you are. And so tomorrow, I don't get to see you, which really sucks.
Well, you might. You got to make sure to subscribe to the Marfoogle News. We're doing more weekend stuff on the other channel. But, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Well, Rod, it's so nice to speak to you. And, again, Eyes Wide Shut, if you've seen him in chat long time now, is The Rumble Within. So make sure to say hi. Make sure to go throw him a subscribe. He's just starting out. Obviously, it's very hard when you start out. When I started out, it was a totally different YouTube. Right now, you have to have 1,000 subscribers just to be able to go live from your phone. The other part of that is like basically, and that was after the event that happened in NZ, the neighboring place there. And that was because they didn't want people just going live with their phone that just started an account. So now they make you can go live on a computer or through a system like this, but you can't go live from a cell phone until you get to 1,000 subscribers. Essentially, that's the thing they set up there, so people can't just go live with an event and show you what's really happening. But Rumble Within, thank you so much, Rod. I appreciate it.
Adam, thank you very, very much. I appreciate everything you do and keeping us up to date over here in Australia. And take care to all the Foogle fan and everybody else out there. And be kind to each other. It doesn't take much to be nice.
Well, thank you so much, Rod. Always a pleasure. Again, thank you. It's funny when anyone calls from Australia. Well, there's actually and in Europe, or if they have a British accent or Australian accent. It's funny because people will actually. I see it when callers call. People love just listening. They would literally listen to somebody with an accent for. You get somebody who calls in from those countries, and people never say like, oh, the typical next or this or that. People always love our Australian callers because they always just sound so interesting. And then we have UN reports progress on Russia's grain and fertilizer exports. It says top UN officials updated a high-level Russian delegation Friday on progress to facilitate Russia's exports to food and fertilizer to global markets, which have faced obstacles under an expiring wartime deal that has enabled UKR to ship over 10 million metric tons of grain from 3 Black Sea ports. It says UN Humanitarian Chief Martin Griffiths and UN Trade Chief Rebecca Grinspan has been in charge of the Russian side of the agreement, informed that the Russian team, led by Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Vershinin, on steps taken to address key Vlad issues, facilitating payments, shipping, insurance for the shipments of its grain and fertilizer, and getting across to European Union ports. UN Associate Spokesman Stephanie Tremblay said in a statement. So it says that the meeting took place ahead of the 19 November expiration of the separate agreements with Vlad and Zelensky, brokered by the UN and Turkey, and signed in Istanbul on July 22nd. Russia briefly suspended its participation in the deal 2 weeks ago, alleging that a UKR drone on its Black Sea fleet in Crimea, and Vlad authorities have said that they're dissatisfied with the implementation of its side of the accord and haven't yet decided whether to extend the agreement, which has been aimed at easing the global food crisis sparked by shortages of grain and fertilizer and escalating prices. As a lot of folks have been talking about recently, of course, the fertilizer shortages are affecting places like Africa extremely hard. A lot of different things that are going on right now is a lot of shipments that were supposed to go one place are going into another. And when you really get into it, when you start actually having serious and super huge food shortages, then you're affecting some of the poorest countries in the world. And it is no good for anybody. Somebody else, I believe, maybe it might have been Canadian Prepper, pointed out that when places like Africa do really, really bad and you have famine and really horrible things happen, then you also breed other things like, of course, breakouts of diseases and different things out of those same countries. It kind of works hand in hand. It says that the UN was also briefed on Vlad's recently issued general license and shipments of fertilizer to developing countries' destinations and its ongoing engagement with the private sector and member states. Vlad's TASS news agency reported on November 1st that Russian fertilizer producer Uralchem Uralkali was prepared to donate 240,000 tons of fertilizer that has been stuck in the EU warehouses and blocked from export for months to needy developing countries, with the first shipment destined for Malawi. Again, places that are absolutely, really, really suffering, and most people don't care. As long as it's not in their zip code, they don't give a crap. But what's happening right now is there's a collapse happening across the planet, and people are still asleep to it. We are actually seeing our world crumble, or at least the system that runs it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I want to thank everybody that has popped in. Thank you for everybody that has already joined us and shown support. Thank you. Check Engine Light is here. Brian Steffens, Android Architect, Watchwolf, iPet Mermaid, Paul Shaggy, Deep State of Mind, what is happening? The Right Side, how are you? CJ Blaze, nice to see you. Andrew Golden, thank you so much for your support today. Appreciate that. Just said one word, veterans. And then Celtic Warrior, thank you so much. Appreciate you as well. Thank you for the super sticker. and Merlin and the Fey Kings. Actually, the name is so long I can't see the whole thing. Let's see here. Merlin and the Fey King's Crown. Hey, thank you, Merlin. I appreciate that. Nice to see you. Wait, hold on. I think I can subscribe. Let's see here. It looks like you've got some videos up here. I just subscribed. 88 subscribers. Merlin and the Fey King's Crown. All right, I'll have to check you out later. All right, and then as far as this goes, I'd love to hear your opinions on that. Again, it's something that is obviously one of the less talked about things, but it's becoming a huge deal. And then Putin completely distances himself from the Kherson defeat. This is where I pulled that quote out from earlier in my Marfoogle News video, which if you haven't watched, that's a shorter video talking about how everybody is complacent right now. It's so crazy because when the news the news can make people complacent, or it can make people on edge and calling each other and say, I have a bad feeling about this. Right now, it seems like people are really complacent, think that everything is calming down because you see Vlad retreating. First of all, every kind of worst case scenario of whatever that has been worked out involved Vlad losing. If Vlad loses, that's not a good place to be in because of how dedicated they were to actually succeeding. They have obviously put a just absolute crazy ton of everything on the line to end up taking over or trying to take over UKR. So if he loses and if he does retreat, something really bad could happen. Obviously, that's why we've been talking about tactical nukes and all of these different things that are going on right now. It says, in my opinion, Putin clearly understands the days of victorious achievements for his army in this war are over, said Zedev. It says, so he officially appoints a commander of joint forces, Sergei Surovikin, so that he can be a scapegoat if there are any failures. You might have noticed how Putin completely distanced himself from the making decisions on Kherson. Those decisions were made by Shoigu, Minister of Defense, and Surovikin. On November 11th, Vlad's defense ministry reported complete withdrawal of Vlad's troops from the western banks of the Dnipro River in the Kherson Oblast. It says that meanwhile, local residents posted photos of stranded Vlad's soldiers who change into civilian clothes in an attempt to blend in with crowds and avoid getting captured by UKR forces. This decision caused sharp discontent among the Russians, who are now disappointed with the country's leadership for blundering into such a major apparent defeat. So this is a huge embarrassment if it is how it is. But if you look at other countries' coverage of it, it looks like something else. Even Germany and others are actually saying in their mainstream media, and especially in their independent media, that he's actually pulling back and saving his troops for a bigger battle. There are other countries that are reverberating what we are saying here. And actually, after today's video, a lot of people messaged me. They said, hey, other countries are in agreement with you, saying that they believe that he is actually pulling back and he's saving his best for last. He's saving all of his good tanks, all of his good jets, all of it. By the way, where has his Air Force been with strikes? Have we seen that yet in this? It's just, think about this. Everything that's hitting UKR has been a missile from afar. They have an Air Force. They have a big Air Force. Why are they not using it? Why are they not going in the front lines and backing them up just like we would with our warthogs? Why has there not been certain kinds of battle when you see this? They've used all of their old tanks. By numbers wise, it sounds like UKR is kicking butt because they're taking all these tanks. They're like, oh, we're getting all their tanks. Well, they're old tanks. Some of them the same kind that were in WW2. So why are they using 80-year-old, 100-year rifles? Why are they grabbing conscripts in the first couple months of a conflict when we know they have a strong military? Seems to me like they are saving the best for an actual world war. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. If you saw my video earlier, what did you think of it? Dex, I would love to get your input on this. I know that you're going to be on the phones, but feel free to pop in at any time. I know that you're going to be bouncing back and forth from taking calls. So, but as I said earlier, It's something that I don't understand. You see the actual numbers that they're putting up. They say they have mostly taken these T-62 tanks. They're not taking their most advanced tanks. They're not seeing these jets come in and do all of these different shock and awe things. You would think that Vlad could do a shock and awe on the cities and just, boom, 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 boom. It's war. Everybody acts because they're civilians they won't, but they could, and they haven't. So it's almost like they're losing on purpose, or that something else is bigger in the picture. It almost seems to me like they found out something during the tit for tats, and they did what they needed to do to see how other countries would support and what red lines everybody was crossing, and they made a decision. Also, there was an extremely huge hack that hacked into the UKR system, and possibly Vlad's side ended up getting a huge insight into their entire battle plan. So something is going on here, and for them to have, and in Vlad's culture, for them to have one of their generals to go on TV and say, it's futile to stay there, and we need to save as many troops as possible, and basically admitting that they're getting their ass kicked. Would you suffer this kind of humiliation if it was just going to keep going, or would you suffer this kind of humiliation if later on it was fixed? And everybody goes, well, in the history books, they pretended to do this, so then later they could do something way, way bigger. Aaron Mitchell says, not going to save them. Saman says, the Book of the Five Rings, lots of RAAF jets flying over the mountain in the last 2 weeks, says the Rumble Within. So the Australian Air Force, and then they won't use it. They got all the data they need to stage the real conflict. Not this time. We can't afford it and are bankrupt, says Neil Proctor. They want the USA to send another $400 million in tanks into UKR. If they're winning, why do we keep sending equipment? Think logically. Murphy's Law, great point. Why do they need to keep sending in bigger and bigger stuff? Way bigger stuff is coming. Captain Scotty, thank you. You realize that if you say that, if you tell your friends this, and if you say that this is not the real deal, this isn't the real thing, I think common sense. Why are you finding 100-year-old rifles when before this conflict started, there was no ganda about them being a weak military? If anything, there were YouTube videos and shorts on how crazy tough and insane their military is. They drill in like negative 40-degree weather. Like, they're an insane military. Why are we seeing the UKR, which has never historically had a really good military, why are they beating them? But it's because the U.S. is giving them all this gear. Well, Russia has the ability, if they wanted to go in there with jets, even with their air defenses, because they don't have the Iron Dome system yet, or they didn't. They could have taken all of that in the early stages of the conflict, but they didn't. Why didn't they do it? Why are they sending in? It seems like it's all staged. They put a 40-mile long thing of tanks in there, and we said in the beginning, they said, oh, they're coming in with this huge line of tanks. So you're saying they lined up all their tanks and they were able to just go down and go boom, 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 and destroy them all? Something seems fishy with all of this. But yet, when you look back at WW2, like I said the other night, Adolf himself is recorded, and we attached that recording to the other night's show. He said, if somebody told me that they had 35,000 tanks, they being Russia, I would have said, you're mad. You're seeing double. You're seeing ghosts. He goes, but there they were, 35,000 tanks. And the current numbers don't even say that Russia has that today, but I don't believe the current numbers. And that's because they have been beefing up their military. It's their only strong suit. That's how they became a major power. They've been beefing it up the whole time when we had administrations for 8 years before T-Man, basically dwindling our supply. Everybody is dwindling. Well, Vlad and Xi have been beefing up. China's the craziest. They are now the largest navy in the world and soon to become the largest air force, which we called years before it happened and years before now they have announced it, that they are working to become the biggest air force in the world. If you control the air and the sea, not good. So I wouldn't believe all the stuff that's coming out and all these crying pictures of Putin. Not yet, anyways. Dex, it looks like you do have some callers lined up, and after Rod, on deck is going to be Captain Phil. But if you did want to pop in for the Armed Forces of UKR appeal to the Russians and Belarusian soldiers. And that's okay. I got you. Dex will be here in just a second. Armed Forces of UKR appeal to Russian and Belarusian soldiers surrender. It says that the Armed Forces of UKR have called on servicemen of the Regional Joint Force of Belarus and Russia to surrender and be taken into the UKR captivity. It again says, military personnel of the Republic of Belarus, if you are still being forced to take part in Putin's war against the people of UKR, and if you have no choice but to carry out this criminal order by crossing the state border of UKR, stop as a unit, turn off your engines, unload your weapons, raise white flags, and wait to meet a representative of the command of the Armed Forces of UKR. Belarusian weapons and military equipment will be stored in UKR in specialized warehouses and vehicle parks. UKR is pledged to return them when the war is over. They're telling them, hey, raise your white flags, give us your weapons. We'll put them in coat check for you. We'll give you a ticket so you can get them back when we're done. They are just making it look like it's game over, like it's done. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when I read this. You know, you've got the whole retreat of Kherson, and then it's like, let's double down on that messaging and let's talk about surrender across the board. So this, you know, again, this is a statement. This is coming out from UKR. It's coming from UKR Pravada, which is their news outlet. So it's all, it's straight from UKR basically. So take it with a big grain of salt, but it, certainly helps them from a messaging standpoint to put this all out at the same time and make it look like everything is just, going their way. And it very well may be. That's the crazy thing about these types of events. We don't really get the true insight usually until much later after it's all said and done and the truth finally comes out.
Yep, the major said it. It's all a distraction. Partly that, it's like they're showing this confidence. Basically, the message in the media is complacency. Everybody's good now. Oh, UKR is winning and all this. They've gone back and forth on this stuff a lot, but again, just remember, we haven't seen Vlad's real military yet. And the big question is why? Why have we not seen their full force of Air Force? I can't repeat it enough. They're capturing conscripts that they pulled off the street to put on the front line with 100-year-old rifles and 50, 60-year-old tanks. You think that that's all Russia has? It seems obvious to me that they're preparing for a way bigger war, and they can't afford to throw in their good guys on the front line of something that everybody... By the way, before this happened, they said, oh, they'll take UKR over in 2 weeks. Every expert said, Russia will basically steamroll them. That's why it's so funny that the media is pushing this message that it's because of the will of the people. The will of the people can go really far, and it went far in certain conflicts. It did. But this isn't all the will of the people. This is the lack of will of one people, and it seems like it's purposeful. You don't just... they're not using gear. Why are they not capturing their most advanced tanks? Why are they not capturing even their standard weapons? They're not even capturing standard bang-bangs. They're capturing their old 100-year-old rifles. Why in the world would they even give those rifles out? I cannot stress it enough. People need to look at the facts of what they're actually releasing to the public. I would think that they would cover that up because it looks so strange, but they're not. They're letting us know what's happening, supposedly happening, and even on our side of the Ganda, it's basically telling us that they haven't given us their all. They haven't given us anything yet. It's not, I don't think it's the end. This is just the beginning. They were seeing where everybody put their where everybody laid down their coat. And now the real battle begins. Mark my words, this is not the end of the conflict. And then thank you, Tinfoil Hat. Thanks for being here. Hello, everyone. Calm before the storm. LW. Drops Family Garden. Nothing wrong with the old rifle if it's maintainable. Oh, absolutely not. But when you're going against the UKR have, U.S. standard rifles. Like, they've got nice fully automatics. Why would you go in there with the... I gotta clean my muzzle out. Give me some gunpowder. We're gonna get these guys. Get that meerkat. I don't know why meerkats got involved, but they're shady little. All right, let's go to our next caller. It looks like we have Captain Phil on the phone. And while we're getting Captain Phil on the phone, I do want to remind you, if you want something for around Christmas area, then as far as Kodiak X2 is one of the most baddest, newest, and most awesome all built-in one solar generator. You can actually charge this by solar panels. In fact, a lot of people don't really realize how easy it is to get into solar, as far as you can buy foldable panels that literally have a carry handle. You just open up the case, flop them out, plug them in. It's plug and play. It's super easy. Put them in your yard, put them on your roof, wherever you want to put them, and you all of a sudden have power coming in. What is great about solar generators is it keeps and it holds that power. So you can have it fully charged and ready if your lights go off. This is a UPS system. So it's an uninterrupted power supply. It's a seamless backup power, which means the second your power goes off, or if you put this in an RV or something, the second your power goes off, it's going to switch over and it's just going to keep everything going. So this is an awesome system. It also can be dual linked for more power, for more longevity, and then also for more output. If you want to power something really, really big, this is a great system to do it. In fact, it's an awesome system as far as that goes. You can actually dual link to put out twice the output. And then also it is one of the longest lasting, as far as it has a record-breaking 6,000 charges. For 16 years, you could run it from all the way full to all the way empty, and you will still have 80% capacity of your battery. The thing that people worry about with lithium is over time, just like your cell phone, the battery starts getting less and less efficient. You're talking about almost 2 decades, and you'll still have 80% battery left. This thing, and that's with daily use. If you don't use it every day, I'm sure this could probably last 50, 60, 70 years, and it probably still could, just not with 100% capacity. It's a 0 to 100% charge time in 75 minutes. Make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/energy. Not only will you get a discount, but you will also be helping our independent channel. I use the Flex 1500. If you want to go check that out, that is a little bit of a longer wait time, but it is definitely their flagship system. It's modular. It can actually be built like Legos, and you can expand it up to 96 battery. What's great with this as well is that all of these are silent. In a SHTF situation or any kind of martial law or really bad situation, you do not want to advertise that you have power. Most people are going to be trying to go stealth mode, and this is so quiet, you can't even hear it running. So go to marfooglenews.com/energy with an I. You'll not only save money, but you'll be helping independent media at the same time. All right, Captain Phil, you are live on Marfoogle News. What is going on, and how are you doing tonight?
Good evening, Adam and Marfoogle fam. I'm doing quite well. How are you?
I'm doing great. So you had something fly over your house, and it kind of alarming.
Yes. The other night, I think it was last week, during the show, I had a stealth boomer go directly over my roof, and I watched the lights of it. It was treetop level. I'm in Olympia, just south of you, and I do know a bit about flying. I've done flight school a few times. So let me put on my pilot hat for a minute. This plane, most military aircraft or civilian aircraft, we have roads in the sky that people can't really see, but we do have roads. They're called course headings. And so that's how they navigate across the U.S. and around the world, is on course headings. Now, this particular area, Olympia, is a waypoint for military or civilian aircraft to make their turns left or right on long-distance flights. Example, Fort Lewis, between you and me. A lot of their Chinooks, Blackhawks, and Apaches, and extremely rare Cobra, will fly over my place, and they use Olympia Airport as a waypoint to turn south towards Oregon. Or if they're coming north, if it's Army going to hit Fort Lewis, well, they'll start a right turn over my place. Or if they're Navy, they'll head straight up to Whidbey Island. Okay. Now, the other night, last week, during the show, 8:16 local time, I see this stealth bomber, treetop level. During the show, it was getting louder and louder. I opened up my door just in time to see it directly over my roof. And at treetop level, I saw the silhouette of it and the lights, and loud as hell. In fact, it actually drowned out you, Adam. So, and then I watched the lights, and I can see I-5, which runs from Canada to Mexico. I can see it from the end of my driveway. And so this stealth boomer decided to line up like it was going to land on I-5 in a night exercise, but at the same time, it kept its elevation and went directly over the state capitol 10 minutes from me, 10-minute drive, which would have been about a 3-minute flight for that stealth boomer to go straight over the Washington state capitol, Olympia. And that is rather alarming to have that boy in the neighborhood. I've only seen him once before, and that was when I was on my yacht in the Puget Sound and saw him escorting in some World War II planes for an air show at Fort Lewis in McCord.
And we're not around air show time. It's not like it's whatever, Seafair or something like that. Now, you're talking stealth bomber, like stealth bomber, and they fly low because they're hard to track on radar as is, but if the lower they are, the harder they are to track. But
yeah, and this one was at literally treetop level.
Wouldn't that cause? I guess they're not like a normal jet. So I would do, and I don't know enough about these. Do they cause like a sonic boom, or can these glide like a normal plane without causing that? Because I know they're run by jets.
So the reason why there is a sonic boom is because they exceed speed, and that would be so fast that you really couldn't see it.
So this thing was cruising, just going slow.
This one was extremely low and extremely slow, and it went straight over the Washington state capitol.
Did you end up checking flight radar? Did you see anything, or was there nothing?
No, I was too busy trying to call it in to you as a breaking news. And since the phones just went to busy or no show night or no call-in night, I tried texting it in a few times. You caught it in the shoutro, I believe.
So, and can you say the date and time? You said you kept track of exactly when it was. It was 8:16 p.m. on what night?
It was sometime during last week's show. You'll find... I tried to type it into the regular show chat a few times, and then you caught it when I tried to put it into the shoutro chat.
Huh. Well, I'm just wondering, I'm wondering if any of our radar sleuths can find if it was a listed flight or not. We've been having Chinooks fly over us, and then you go to flight radar and they're not there. So obviously they're doing some of the where they're turning their transponders off. But I would be interested to see if that was something that was public or not public. We'll try to see.
Yeah, there's been a few times that I would catch a lot of military flights, especially the Blackhawks and Apaches, going over my place. I try to look it up on the radar, and it's not there.
Well, it is their ability to turn those things off. So is there roughly, was this 4 or 5 days ago, is there a rough?
It was sometime last week, I believe.
So today's Friday. You mean earlier this week or during last week's show? So like Friday, Thursday, last.
Well, it was a show that wasn't a call-in.
Okay, so probably on a Thursday or a Tuesday. Now, just one or no, Wednesday or Friday. So can I ask one last question? What was a landmark it would have had to fly over?
I-5.
I-5?
And the state capitol.
In Washington. Okay.
Yes. When it went over my place, it was starting to turn and lined up directly with I-5, like it was going to do a nighttime landing exercise on the freeway. But it kept its elevation at treetop level and went directly over the state capitol. Wow.
Well, I haven't even seen one at like the Flight Museum. That would have been an experience for any plane spotter. I would have been freaking out, and not like a scary thing. I would have been like, "Oh my gosh, that's a stealth bomber." I've always wanted to see one of those. Obviously, not in a where it's actually being used for wartime. But man, those things are amazing. My grandma and grandpa both helped design that. So it's something that even I've told this story before, but even years after it was declassified, my grandma would not say anything, and she was so tight-lipped about it because she worked at Boeing, and she was so tight-lipped about it, and everybody's like, Grandma, it's declassified, you don't have to worry about it. And this is like 15 years after it was declassified, but she still wouldn't talk about any of it, nothing. Anyways, thank you so much for calling in, Captain Phil, and who knows, we'll try to do some sleuthing. I don't know how it is when you're looking back in time, but I'm sure there's somewhere that archives all of these things, and maybe we can look back at tweets from the flight radar trackers and see if anybody caught that. Thank you for calling it in, though. Thanks for thinking of us, though.
Yeah, I tried to call it in immediately as breaking news, and it wasn't a call-in show, so I tried putting it in chat a few times. And in chat, you will find me as Pirates Paradise Bar.
All right, well, sweet.
And I love your shoutros. Your shoutros do my cardio workout every night.
That's funny. Our friend Laura, she said she does the same thing on her treadmill. I'm very honored that you use my horrible music for that, but thank you so much, and very, very appreciative, and thank you so much for letting us know. If you ever get video of anything, every time you hear something, run out there.
Last night's shoutro was extremely good.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate you, Captain Phil, and thanks for calling in, and don't be a stranger, okay?
All right.
All right. Yeah, have a good night.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye. That was Captain Phil from Washington. If again, if we do find the kind of custom time, it would be crazy to catch something like that on a Ring camera. I do know that they do fly extremely low, but treetop is like, that's scary. If you catch something like that on video, and of course it's something that you can share, let us know. marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo. And then thank you over on DLive, Gentle Moss, Paul Shaggy, Vicky K. Thanks for your nightly appearance. Appreciate your attendance. Scooby-Doo right. And then Kimbria, of course. Nice to see you. All right, and then looks like, let me turn that off because it's not working there. All right, and then Dex, we're going to be switching over to, we're going to be talking about Putin's doomsday scenario. Did you want to pop in? I know that you've got, looks like we are lined up for the next call as well. Raging Wolf is on deck. Do you want to talk about this doomsday scenario scene here?
Well, yeah, this is a rather interesting article. It goes through some of the scenarios specifically that have been outlined with Vlad, that he's discussed, everything from the dirty boom boom to the threats around nuclear use. But most importantly, that correlation they're trying to draw is that as it gets to a point of no return, he's capable of actually doing one of these things. And that's their position, is that he's potentially going to be in a position where he may take a very extreme action. And given the state of the withdrawal, the state of, the surrender request, all the stuff that just makes it look like, he is losing. And mind you, like, Kherson was his new territory. He just claimed it. He said, this is now our country. We've claimed this. And now he's losing it right after he claimed it. So to the extent that all of this sort of backs him more into that corner and puts more pressure on him, is there a scenario in which he will go all in, especially if he thinks that they're going to, say, go after Crimea or go after or push even further into his country to cause damage? So it's in Xi's, very interesting perspective. But
it's in Xi's best interest that Vlad, if he talked to Vlad and said, hey, can you wait? We're going to go to conflict with all of the Western nations, that they pull back and they save all of their best stuff for a conflict. Look at, everybody is sure of the whole China and Taiwan situation at some point, unless they just throw up the white flag and say, okay, take us, which doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And the rest of the world, the rest of the Western world doesn't want that to happen. So, and in China's eyes, the only way that they really want to do this is if they are facing two near-peer adversaries. If the U.S. is fighting Russia at the same time as fighting China, that is where every war game scenario comes out where we might lose. So you're talking about a scenario that nobody wants to see or nobody wants to admit that could happen, but that's what it's looking like. The bigger picture is showing that China is putting out all of this information. They're stocking and hoarding like no tomorrow, literally like there's no tomorrow. 65% of the world's wheat is being stockpiled in China, and that's probably gone up. That was as of months and months and months ago. 55% of the world's corn stocked up. They're stocking up food like they're getting prepared to have either, at the very least, sanctions, or like they are about to go to conflict. Not to mention the side tinfoil theories of, the ghost cities being replications of all these different places around the world where elites live. It's just creepy. It's like, after everything gets destroyed, are they going to just move all their people into these ghost cities because nobody's going to attack a place where nobody lives? I don't know. Is that the thinking? If you look at the sheer amount of ghost cities, they say, oh, it's because of the economy, and they build, and it's part of their inflated economy and stuff. I don't believe that. And that might sound bad, but I think there's a secondary reason why they're building those ghost cities and why they are made to look like all of these landmarks around the planet. And if you look at, it's like a Dragon Day scenario with what a lot of us see, right? Like, they're already getting their allies in every government. If you look at the trade that we showed you last night, that trade map of how they have taken over all of the trade around the planet ever since they joined the WTO, it's freaking freaky. And then you look at countries like Canada, putting out, like, get ready for their government sites, get ready for the social credit score for businesses. Everything is leading in our little incremental moves to reduce our rights and our freedoms. It's, people go, it's starting to look a lot like Xi's country. It's already there. They're monitoring our phones. They're monitoring our locations. They're monitoring our calls, our texts, everything. They're monitoring our devices. And we know this. They were so blazing that it came out there, and they're like, yeah, okay. And then a lot of people took it and they're like, well, if they want to see my 65-year-old body naked, they can. Well, guess what? It's a lot more than that. They're not only going to see it, but they're going to be able to come in your house and take you. If the real thing goes down, which many of us believe it will at some point, you better hope there's some good guys, some serious fight on the good side. And then TikTok launches e-commerce feature in-app to compete with Amazon. Which, by the way, a lot of people are buying stuff from TikTok. If you didn't know that, there's all sorts of videos of people like, I make these by hand, and they're basically selling their stuff. There's these rock channels that pick out scoops of rocks. And a lot of it, by the way, a lot of these companies are based in China. They're warehouses where their whole selling point is like the rock one that my friend watches. It essentially, they scoop rocks out, and it's called Lucky Scoop or whatever. There's like 15 different channels, and they all look like they're in the same warehouse. And they scoop out these crystals, which they say they get super cheap for $50 or something. You get a scoop of cool crystals. And they say they can do it so cheap is because they're getting them from Africa, and it's in China, and there's no labor costs, and it's in bulk or whatever. But these things, it's like there's these kind of companies that are doing these things, and they're blowing up on TikTok. And all of that money is going back to Xi's country. So there's actually, if you think about what's happening here, TikTok, which people already kind of suspected, now there's money funneling in from all over the world back to companies that are on this platform. Pay attention to the next time if you see one of those, and if you actually do buy stuff, look at where it's coming from. Why do you think it takes 2, 3, 4 weeks? It says TikTok quietly entered the United States e-commerce market this week, where it will compete with Amazon and other retail giants during the coming holiday shopping season. Users can now make purchases directly through the app using a feature called TikTok Shop. It says, which the company officially began testing in the U.S. this week. It was previously only available in the U.K. and 7 countries in Southeast Asia. It says TikTok is currently inviting select U.S. businesses to participate in the initiative, according to a person familiar with the matter. This means live streamers from China and other places who sell goods on TikTok will need to continue directing shoppers to third-party websites. It says that TikTok, which is owned by social media giant ByteDance, has told international merchants that they will eventually be allowed to start using TikTok Shop. So the thing is now they're already doing it. They're having you go through a third party. They have just set it up, and so nobody makes a big deal out of it. They're doing America and UK and everything else with their businesses. Then they will pop in the thousands, and it's thousands of different companies that are doing these. I mean, basically, it's like the stuff that you would buy at a smoke shop. There's even one where they pick out like these, like all the little tchotchkes that you would get at a smoke shop. They just pick out random ones, and then you send a random amount of money to them, and they pick out random stuff. There's tons of them like that. If you've seen them, let me know in the comments down below. But again, TikTok is absolutely nuts. You'll see TikTok. There'll be somebody who's working at a gas station just filming 14 hours of them working at a gas station. This new generation is absolutely cursed. Dex, go ahead.
One of the things that caught my eye was that, there's a 400 billion live stream shopping industry in Xi's country. They make 400 billion just off of live stream shopping. And they're trying to actually bring that here. That's the goal. So I almost wonder if they didn't start, if they didn't look at this and say, now we've got the eyeballs, we've got them ingrained, we control, we program what they see. Now all we got to do is take our multi-billion-dollar shopping, live stream shopping that we've been doing for years over in G's land, and let's just funnel all that into America so that we can take money out of America and bring it right back to China.
Well, I mean, in theory, it's really cool. I've seen it, and I'm like, okay, that's if you are doing these like Lucky Scoop things, right? They scoop out the crystals, and you're watching it live. They don't send them for 4 weeks or whatever, but they're scooping it. and then they show you all the rocks that they won. It's kind of like a lottery. It grabs a couple of those itches, right? It's kind of like gambling because people are paying a certain amount and then they just get a random scoop of stuff and then they show you it. So you actually get to see what you're buying. This is actually something that's going to be growing a lot. Instead of something on like eBay, people will do eBay Live, where they go through their collection, they're in their collection room, they're showing you something and they go, this is $40, and then live streamers will bid for it. They'll go $40, $60, and they'll be able to bid on it live, and they'll be able to show each item just like QVC, but for personal people. And this is already happening. There's actually websites and apps that are doing it. But the problem here is that all the money is going to be funneling back eventually back to G. And already all of the U.S. businesses are going to have to pay ByteDance and all this platform a percentage or a commission or a cut. They are grabbing money from all over the world. And then where does that money get spent? Well, the money gets spent on their million-man Ganda machine, their a million people on payroll just to be bots online to push their narratives. And then, of course, their military. This money is coming from all over the world, and for those companies that wanted to save $10 in wages per hour, well, they got that, but they also gave $5 an hour wages to a company that basically funneled it directly up to the CCP, a communist nation. It's pretty nuts. And then history repeats itself. Hurricane Ian, Nicole strike nearly same spots in Florida as Charlie, Janine in 2004. If you remember, one came right after the other in 2004, and they hit the same exact spots. Funny. Again, history repeats itself, even the weather. It says, longtime Floridians likely have a fond memory of two notable hurricanes, Charlie and Jean. Jean or Jean? Says that struck the state 43 days apart in 2004. And in strange coincidence, of which there are none, 18 years later, Hurricanes Ian and Nicole also struck Florida in nearly the exact same locations as the 2004 pair. It says, but that's not the only way history repeated itself. Hurricane Ian's landfall on September 28th was followed by Hurricane Nicole's on November 10, 43 days later. Isn't that just a trip? It actually, literally the same thing happened, essentially. Look at that. To the day. It almost makes you think that there's some sort of greater or bigger design happening here. Don't know. Have you lived in these places? Did you experience both? Did you experience all four? I guess I should say. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. By the way, Time B, thank you, says keep up the good work. I appreciate that. And then Mark J says, Marf and Dex, you are the best. Love your shows, love your content, and your shoutros. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for liking even my shoutros. Raging Wolf is going to be on the phone. In fact, we're going to get Raging Wolf on right now, talking about inundated with requests to donate blood. Before we do, just a reminder, to help support us, if you do want to protect yourself against EMP, you can go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. This can stop all three phases of an EMP, E1, E2, and E3. It can protect your car. It can protect your truck. It can protect your boats, your motorcycles, your ham radios, your generators, and of course your home. They actually have a version of this device for almost anything that you want to keep going after an EMP strike or a solar event. The solar event will happen. We will get another Carrington level event. It's just a matter of time. And if our grid and our system is actually up to par by then. Right now, we are extremely vulnerable. We have outdated stuff as far as our grid goes. And if a Carrington level event happened now, no one knows what would happen, but the guess is that a ton of people would perish. And that is because our whole system would go down. Grid down scenario is a very real one. It's one of the realest out of all of the crazy scenarios that could happen. EMP is the most likely from enemies, and the solar event is guaranteed. It's just unpredictable as far as timing goes. But some say this cycle that we are in right now is a cycle within a 400-year cycle, and it very well could be one of the most unpredictable and worst out there. That's why you keep hearing the dates 2024, 2025 at the peak of this solar cycle. So if you do want to protect yourself, very easy to do. Go to EMP Shield, go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and get yourself an EMP on any of the cars you want to keep running, any of the boats you want to keep running, any of the generators you want to protect. This is very, very easy product to put in. Again, if you're getting the car model, which is the most popular, it takes about 5 minutes to 15 minutes at most. So again, go over and check it out. You don't have to be an expert to put that in. It takes literally minutes for anybody. That's marfooglenews.com/EMP to ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it fries your device. All right, let's get Raging Wolf. Raging Wolf, you're live on Marfoogle News.
Let's get Raging Wolf. Raging.
Oh, and then Raging Wolf, remember to turn me off on the TV or whatever you're watching on.
You're off.
Hey, what's going on?
Me, Adam?
Yep.
Hey, Adam. Google fan. I just wanted to put out there, a few years back, there's a local guy, bad accident, needed a lot of blood, so I went and donated blood. Of course, my name's on the list. About every month, couple months, I had a request, come donate blood. Here about 2 months ago, I started getting requests 2-3 times a week, sometimes 4 to donate blood. And then the last text I got, which was day before yesterday, they even offering a $50 gift card.
So you're wondering why you are getting inundated with requests to donate blood?
I'm wondering if anybody else is, because that's unusual.
Now, how are you getting these requests? In the mail or on your phone, or how are you getting them?
No, text message.
Well, I will say there might be something there, but also as far as the different like scams and stuff that's out there, and that doesn't seem like a scam, but if you do use your phone number for anything nowadays, you'll get these crazy texts from all over the place. I know I get crazy texts from all over.
This is coming from the legitimate company that does blood connection. Is what it's called. They're the ones that donate, take blood.
Well, I do know that they are.
So they're legitimate. Yeah.
Well, they are trying to. They're trying to come up with synthetic blood, and we talked about the other day that maybe there's a thought out there that maybe they're preparing for some massive event where they're going to need a bunch. I don't know, but has anybody else experienced this? Make sure to chime in and chat. Has anybody else been accosted about donating blood? And then Android Architect, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I have not experienced that myself.
It kind of makes me wondering if maybe they're wanting to stockpile blood for the military. I do not have a rare blood type by no means, so it's not that. One other thing, I live close to a major grocery distribution center from Southeast, and the trains, they're just not running that much now at all. They used to come through about 7-8 times a day.
The what? What isn't running? The train?
Maybe twice.
Did you say the train, or what did you say that doesn't come through every?
The trains are not running nowhere near as much as they used to.
Huh. Well, that is something.
And I live close to the main warehouse hub for a major grocery chain in the Southeast.
Well, that's something that may be related to supply chain stuff. I don't know. But again, somebody else talked to me last week about, I want to say Missouri. They said that the trains have just like stopped going through where they normally go through and that they haven't seen any. So that is something I have heard before. As far as the blood stuff, I haven't heard that one before. Most people say, you might be on somebody might have put your number out somewhere because, I don't know. Have you ever donated blood, though? That was another question. If you have, then of course.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's how I got my phone number. And also, what you're talking about with UKR, I 100% agree with you there, man. There is no way that Vlad's losing.
Yes.
Like this.
Well, Raging Wolf, I appreciate your call tonight, and I thank you. I do think though that they're probably hitting you up because you were on their prior list, and that they're trying to get you back in there.
All right, then. All right. Thanks, Adam. Good night.
All right, thank you, Raging Wolf. You have a good night. Dex, did you have something to say?
Well, yeah, I was going to say what Raging Wolf explained was that he was they were on the list, and they would get a call maybe once every 2 months. That would be the normal frequency. Now the frequency has gone up significantly, and the frequency has gone up so much that they're now adding money to it. So that's kind of, I don't know if it's alarming, but it's definitely happening in their area. And that was what they were trying to say, is that, they've been on the list, they've donated, and they've gone in to do it in the past, but the frequency has gone up dramatically.
Rebecca Snavely says there's been an uptick in blood drives. Well, that does matter, because if they are looking to get, if you all of a sudden see that they are trying to gather blood, do you know why they gather blood and on a bigger level? They actually gather, in fact, remember when we covered the stories about Vlad was doing massive blood drives. Do you remember this before the conflict? Do you remember that, Dex? We covered.
Oh yeah, they were stacking it up, and they were bringing it to the
border,
the edge, to the borders of the conflict zone. They were getting it stacked up and ready. So
again, there was just a couple. I do ask that everybody is respectful to callers, no matter who they are. Again, we expect the same if you end up calling in. But there are a lot of new people, so I did want to explain we're always polite. We don't say next caller, period. And just so you know, if you are new, if you do say next caller, is nothing personal, that will get muted out. And if it continues, then that's actually a bannable offense. And there's not many here. As long as you're respectful and polite, most things fly. And don't feel bad if you did do that or whatever. Everybody does it, almost every call-in show. But I will say this. It is important, because if there was some weird, uptick in that's something they do before war. They did it right before Vlad did it, right before UKR. And we showed you that, and we said it looks like they're gathering blood for a war. Specifically, do you guys remember this? Anybody that was listening to that when we talked about how there was a huge uptick in their blood drives? You can only have blood for so long, and they do keep that. What? Paul Stasny says Amazon sells blood for $300 a pint. What the? Are you serious? No way. But yeah, the plasma places, yes, if you end up on doing it, then they'll hit you up. But those places are the same places that end up getting called by the government and says, hey, we need all of this blood. Or when there's something big going on, they will call those places. And then those places will reach out to anybody who has donated, and then they'll do that. So if they're reaching out more and more and more, that could be a sign of something really quite spooky. And then Dex, do you want to talk about donuts, chips, and pizza?
Well, certainly used to be my favorite bag, but definitely sounds like it's something we shouldn't be eating. According to scientists, they're coming out saying that these things, donuts, cereal, and pizza, and more specifically refined foods, are as bad for people and as addictive too, and they should be classified as a drug. That's what they're suggesting. So I think, we can look at the waistline of America and tell that it's gotten rather large over the years. And I'm sure consuming donuts, chips, and pizza, as well as other things that probably fall into those categories of unhealthy and easy foods that taste good but do absolutely nothing for you nutritionally, and are full of carbs, are definitely something that probably aren't the best things to consume for your food. But that's what the scientists came out and said. They're basically trying to make the point that it ought to be labeled as a drug because of the severity of consuming them or getting addicted to them and eating them. They're just as addictive and harmful as cigarettes, they say.
Well, no surprise there. As far as... Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, though. And then Twitter verifies account for Jesus Christ. Yeah, that happened. It says the page has no religious enlightenment only features 2 posted photos. One, a meme featuring painter Bob Ross, and the other of the character Black Jesus from the Fox TV series Family Guy. As far as the tweets themselves, one post tells followers it proves nothing. It says if you mention you follow Jesus in your bio, another post advises your prayers are meaningless without action. And a post from Good Friday last April reads, see you in a few. That's kind of funny. Instead of referring to God, posts referencing Jesus' father simply address him as dad. There's also a post that shows support for the UKR conflict, and another says, Christians hate this one simple trick that gets you into heaven. Love. And then again, this was a verified account. As of right now, Jesus seems to be the only one in his family with a verified account. An account for God that is unverified has a bio that reads, I'm not a parody, Elon, I'm actually God. I'm actually almighty, and I actually think you're insane. No surprise there. This is the time we live in. And speaking of which, brings me to my next point, which is what I actually mentioned earlier. Everyone is saying that we're witnessing the end of social media. You are kidding yourself if you think that. But why they're saying that is because of all of the fall, the layoffs, and how all of the social media companies are going down right now. It would be lovely, and actually, I would praise it. If there was, Facebook is dying, and hello, do you remember MySpace? Yeah, it might die and something else will take its place. In fact, it's already taken its place. When kids, that a younger generation does not ask for phone numbers. They go, hey, do you have a Snap? Things have already replaced this. Facebook has replaced. Only old, and it's so crazy that only old people use Facebook now. And that's everybody says that. Only old people use it. And by old, they mean 30 and over, right? That's old, which, again, I remember being 18 and being like 30-year-olds. Oh, they're old with children. And now I'm like, why can't I go back? Sorry, Family Guy. But they're saying this because of all of the social media platforms that are falling apart, and Facebook is going to be outro, and others are taking its place. It says it's over. Facebook is in decline. Twitter is in chaos, which, again, they're putting out pieces like this because they want to make this narrative that Twitter is now so much different now that somebody else owns it. And, again, it's changing, but none of these big people that said they would leave, just like when people said that when T-Man is elected, that they'll leave the country. Don't think anybody did. And a lot of the Twitter people, they're not going to throw away their 20 million followers because, something like this happens. So it's just kind of funny. They say in billions of dollars in value. I will tell you this: Zuckerberg knows the future. I don't think he's stupid at all. I think the VR thing is going to be the future, and it's not going to exactly be VR. It will be AR. It will be VR, and it will be people staying in their home, shopping from home. It will be like CV, only it will be a whole lot more money making. They're going to have things come directly to your door via drone. I know this is the truth because this is what the FAA and everything else is lining up for us. When Elon says that your best bet in the future is to have a guaranteed income, like a welfare, like a universal income, that's because he knows what's coming. It's right in our face. And what's so funny is I say, the writing is no longer on the wall, but it's on our face now. That was actually trending on Twitter last night. Just the hashtag, the writing is on your face. Apparently it's some sort of band or something that's going on, but this is not the death of it. It's going to advance, and it's going to morph into something else that's far scarier. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, this is this article. It's The Atlantic, and this author is he's just using it as an opportunity to poke at Facebook and Twitter. Look, it's not like people are going away. It's not like everybody just put their phone down and said, we're done. If Zuck can't make 200 billion, then we're done. If Elon buys the company, we're done. That didn't happen. The usage is at an all-time high. Social's not dead. And by the way, I think it's fair to say Facebook may be in decline from a usage perspective in the big macro picture, but that's only because the youth don't use it. But they still use social. They just happen to be on Snap, and they happen to be on Twitter some, and they happen to definitely be on Insta and the TikTok as well. So this is sort of like, and by the way, how can you say social is dead when we just got done saying both Jesus and God have a Twitter account? So at that point, I think we're kind of done with this conversation. Social's alive and doing well.
Well, and Instagram is dying. Instagram used to be only photos, and then they added video, and then they did this. Vine came and went. Vine was the biggest thing on the planet for a while. Then, of course, other platforms took the best things out of the best things, and then they turned and morphed into others. What is going to be freaky is when it starts becoming this VR at home thing, and they have already trained us. I can't believe that they were able to train us within a month to be able to stand 6 feet apart from each other and line up and wait to go in. I mean, like, they did so much crazy stuff during that. And it's because apparently the stuff traveled 6 feet or whatever. And then they said, it travels 9 feet. Like somebody was coughing, and then somebody had a measuring tape like, let's wait 4 days and see if I get sick. You guys need to stand 6 feet apart. Nobody did that. But you know what we did? Sorry, I actually had a cough. We listened. A lot of us did try to push back on that. I know people that never followed a single one of those things. But they also... they got the majority to do so, and to this day, you'll be in the grocery store around here. Still, a lot of people actually do the safety precautions and things. But you know what happened after all of this, and after for 2 years everybody covered up? Our immune systems went to crap, and now that's why I believe since it all ended, I've been sick probably 4 times or something. Before that, I wasn't sick, once every 3 years. Where do you think social media is headed? Let me know in the comments down below. ZenWinAZ, thank you so much. Appreciate your support. Thank you for the super stickers. And thank you for sticking around with us. Next Exit says, think it's all planned. Let's see here. I think it's all planned for 2024. Yeah. People need to not forget what Mr. Gates said about 2024 when he said that it will be hung, and the there will be a civil conflict. He said civil war. He said there will be, and it will be a hung. He didn't say it may be, and even the fact checkers fact-checked that, and they were like, we're still looking into it. How far do you have to look into that? I don't even think it's verified now. Oh, we're still investigating. He either said it or he didn't. It's creepy. And then Andrew Golden, thank you again for shouting out to veterans, to all the veterans here. Thank you. And again, today is your day. And I appreciate you. And if you did spend any of your time here as a veteran, thank you for giving me even more of your time, especially since you've already sacrificed much of your time and possibly, sacrificing much more for your country. Thank you so much. And no matter what our government or they are deciding to do with the military, the fact that you joined up to protect us and to protect our freedoms, that's a giant thing. No matter how many times that people get mad at what conflict we're in, or if it's a just conflict or whatever, you guys are the ones who go and fight it. So nobody's giving you qualms. Again, you guys are absolutely amazing. And we need more people like you, and this generation's not that. If there are some 19, 20-year-olds here, which there's like 0.0%, and you are in the military, thank you. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you. Dex, let's talk about the web only.
Wow, the story continues. Don't go anywhere. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open the show notes link in the description. It's right there on YouTube and on the Umble. Hey, the Twitter story continues. Apparently, Eli Lilly and Company was a fake account that was validated or approved or whatever, verified is the term. And they said free insulin for all. So, and then it caused these stocks to actually tank. Both Novo, Nordisk, Sanofi, as well as Eli Lilly all tanked because of it. And then they realized, wait a minute, it's not the legitimate company. So these paid verifications are kind of, becoming a little bit of a problem, but I don't think it's that much that they can't figure out how to deal with it, because this is not like this is something that it seems like it's happening every day now, but it won't happen every day forever.
Well, then they get banned.
On poor Elon at the moment. Yeah, they get banned. They get shut down.
So
although Jesus is still there.
Hopefully it works. A lot of people that waited and should have been rightfully verified, and anybody that had a significant following that, didn't want to be impersonated or whatever, if you have some sort of following, you should have been verified, at least in the fact, like, this is that person. Anybody could have been verified, even if you didn't even have a significant following and you are somebody that, if you're a CEO of something or this, you should be verified as that person. Everybody should have been verified in their own right, that one person is that one person. But they didn't do that. They only gave it to these protected people, or if you did get it and you were on a certain side, you were on the certain side that was, not pushing the envelope, and you knew somebody that knew somebody. That's how they were getting it done. Now, watch, all the people that did wait for it got it that day, and they could probably just cancel it now, which they did put it on pause, right?
That's true. It could happen. Hey, Elon is actually racing for a $56 billion lawsuit with a heavy metal drummer. You want to know more about that story? It's really fascinating. Go take a look. It's a stock deal. It's a lawsuit from an investor that held a small amount of shares. It's kind of a crazy story how it actually works, but it's really going to trial. So if it actually happens, it might be an interesting one. I doubt he'll lose $56 billion. He might just pay $1 million for the legal fees, if anything. But that's a fascinating legal story if you're into that kind of thing. The whole crypto world, man, that stuff is just nuts. Sam Bankman, just completely screwed up FTX. Everybody is losing money left and right. They're getting their accounts called where their margin calls on them, so they're losing and being forced to sell off all their Bitcoins or whatever they're trading. So not a pretty sight right now. I don't know how much longer the bloodletting is going to happen over there, but It's interesting to watch, pay attention. Hey, all of the updates on the political spectrum is in there. What's happening with, the races that are still outstanding, including one that's going to happen again in December here in Georgia. Different things happening there. Something happened at the presidential center. You probably already heard about it. I'm sure it was major mainstream news, but there's something that was showed up there that happened at NASCAR. If you remember, it was one of those, a special kind of rope that was placed there, caused a bunch of commotion. So if you want to know that story, it's there. There's also a deal in the makings, and we'll find out more if it actually happens, where U.S. is trying to buy SK's ammunition, and they're doing it for UKR. Kind of interesting thought there. Russian hackers have published some stolen records that you don't really necessarily want out there. It's kind of scary to think that they're going to publish some of this stuff. Not something that people would ever want to talk about publicly. Any kind of health record you really don't want out there. More updates on the Vlad stuff. Unfortunately, a famous comedian Gallagher has passed away at 76. That's in the news. And by the way, rats, they tested rats with some music. They gave them classical music, and they found that the rats were bobbing their head to the tune. I thought it was kind of strange they didn't use rat as in the band, because it would have probably been even better. They could have been banging their heads instead of just nodding their heads. But yeah, the rats can sense music just like us. So it's kind of interesting. Hey, that and a whole lot more. Even Ghislaine is in the news. The rocket in there's more rockets going up from Xi's country that they keep falling back to Earth. They said, you know what, we got a whole bunch of more satellites we're going to put up, and we're going to keep using those rockets. So you guys get ready. It's going to be, bingo time on where these rockets land. So get your cards out and start guessing, because I think the next 2 years is going to be full of them.
And those are big rockets. The thing is they were launching specific things. The first three that did this were launching parts of this giant space station, right? Well, they say they had planned a miles-long structure in space. I'll make a prediction here that this is going to be parts of this miles-long structure that they're going to build. They're going to do all of the biggest pieces with this kind of rocket, and every time they're doing that, this is part of a defense platform or some sort of weapon that's getting put up there, or an Elysium type thing. By the way, on Twitter, if you haven't followed me over on @Marfoogle, I posted just the weirdest promotional shot to use for